Okay, guys, welcome back. I've been away for about 2 months. A lot been going on, and I was trying to figure out where I want this channel to go. And kind of listened to a bunch of YouTube experts, and they say you gotta give yourself a brand, and you need to have a certain niche as far as drawing in the people that you want to draw in. And I think my niche is going to be just kind of everything. I just want to share things that I enjoy doing, share my faith, share my life experiences, and maybe give some suggestions, especially to maybe younger audience if I'm able to draw some people in. I have reached 20 subscribers, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I apologize for being away for a little while, but the holidays and just a bunch of different things, work and stuff, it's kind of gotten in the way of me trying to create some new videos. But today, what I'd like to do is share a little bit about myself, where I live, and what I've done to improve my property and the house that I purchased a little over 2 years ago. I do live here in West Virginia, and the weather today is actually not too bad, although I'm videoing this first thing this morning because this afternoon we're supposed to have 50-mile-an-hour winds and the temperatures are supposed to drop. So I wanted to get this outside part done before I show you the inside of the house and the remodeling and things that I've done in there. So right now I'm at the upper corner of my property. This is an adjacent 2.2 acres or so, adjacent to the property of the house, which is another 2.5 acres. This was all overgrown. I think I posted a video maybe a month and a half ago about clearing out around these trees. They were just so choked out. And then this section here was really choked out, and I spent 3 or 4 whole days just clearing that out, and it does look a lot better. And so this was a separate lot from the lot that my house sits on. And at one point there was a small little house that sat here. It was more of a shack slash cabin kind of thing. It sat right about there. That has been removed for, I don't know, probably 20 years or so. And when I was clearing this out, I found all these huge 10 by 10 timbers that I guess were used as the foundation for that little shack, that when they tore it apart, they just all tossed it in this little wood. So that was a lot of work taking all that out of there. This is something else that I want to kind of keep you updated on as the years go on. So I planted these green giant arborvitaes. I planted them in the spring of 2024, and they were about a foot tall when I planted them. So they have a year's worth of growth on them, and they did fairly well, I think, for the drought and everything that we had most of last year. And I planted them here along this property line. They're going to be building a house here, and I really didn't want to see another house which would be directly in front of my house. I mean, it's far enough away, but I like my privacy. It's one of the reasons why I bought this property out here. It's quiet. I was thinking about buying this extra 2 acres, but they wanted too much money for me to just mow it, basically. So I'm fine with them building a house there. Can't do anything about it. But when I found out the price they wanted for that, I decided, it would be cheaper just to buy some trees, plant them, give myself a screen. I like my privacy. I'm a private person, and that'll give me a good buffer in between the house that's being built here. And then these are my neighbors across the street. Both of these are more like a B&B kind of thing, so I never know who's going to be there, what they're up to. I actually had over Christmas break, somebody rented the house here for a weekend, and there were some girls up there on the front porch with binoculars, and they were looking down into my house. And that was, to me, was just really creepy. So what I decided to do was, so these are the trees I planted. These are the trees that I planted last spring, and they've done really well. And after the incident with those girls with their binoculars looking down into my house, I planted, a couple weeks ago, I planted these trees, kind of made the turn to come on down along the road here, just to kind of block that view. Now I realize it's going to be a few years before they're tall enough to give me the privacy that I want, but I wanted to go ahead and get a jump start on that. These trees do grow 3 to 5 feet a year, so I kind of want to keep, every year I'll just maybe take some measurements off of these trees and keep everybody updated on how fast they grow and the progress that they make each year. I think that'd be a cool little project to do. So then this is the 2.5 acres that the house sits on. Basically runs from that tree down to the tree line along the side of the house. And I'll give you guys some before and after photos. Sorry about that, the wind's getting pretty bad here. Some before and after photos of what the outside of the house will look like when I bought it. It was a mess, and I've spent a lot of time fixing it up. I still have a lot of outside work to do. I want to replace the siding. There's some windows I want to replace, but it was a mess. I think it was used as a weekend home for an older couple, and they got to the point where their health deteriorated. They couldn't come and take care of the place. So for 5 years, it just kind of sat empty, and everything just kind of took over. Vines, trees, rodents. So I spent a lot of time working on the outside, a lot of time working on the inside. So I added this garden 2 years ago. It was the spring of 2024. Yeah, so I've had 2 gardens in here. It's done fairly well. I had to put this fence in because of the deer. As you can see here, I have deer around here. It's crazy. I should really start my own deer farm, because all I'd have to do is fence in my property and I would have just deer everywhere. So they terrorize everything, all my shrubbery and stuff around the house. They've been kind of nibbling at it this winter. And here, I had to add this little section of fencing here. I have blackberries and raspberries in here, and this past summer they just tore into them. So I had to fence this off just to keep them out of here. So I'm really excited about my blackberries and my raspberries this summer. They probably would have done really well last year, except for the deer. So I'm really excited about how they're going to grow and how much they're going to produce this year. And then a few weeks ago, I ordered 2 apple trees and then 2 peach trees. So I'm wanting to start a small orchard here. and I'll probably add some more. I'll see how these do this year. Supposedly to get some fruit off of the peach trees and the apple trees this year. I don't think it's going to be that many, but we'll find out. And of course, you can see I had to fence around these to keep the deer at bay. So far, it's done a good job. I don't think they're going to bother with them too much. That fence in there. Let's see. So you can kind of see the delineation here between like the green grass and this brown grass. That's basically the property line. This 2 acres or so here, I'm just gonna let it grow natural. This is a lot of weeds, some Johnson grass and things in here, and I'm just gonna let that grow natural. I do keep it mowed, but not as often as the yard around the house. I spent a lot of time this summer and fall getting my yard around the house prepared for grass seed. It came up fairly decent. It was such a horrible year. The drought was horrendous from June until even now. It's still so dry. But the grass did come in decent. So I'm excited to see how that comes in this spring. I have to do a little more work on that this spring, but I'm excited about that. There were a lot of trees, dead trees. There's one, for example, that I had to take down in the backyard. Now, the backyard, believe it or not, when I bought it, essentially from here straight across to these trees, all of this back in here was wooded. It was overgrown, it was wooded, and it looked just like this, which is still about another 10 or 15 feet back into where my property line is. So all of this from essentially the back of my shed there to here looked like that. And I had to clean all that out because that's where my septic field is. And I was so concerned about all of those trees, the root system clogging up the field lines. So I cleared all this out by hand. And it took me, I don't know, 4 or 5 months to do that. So from the road, the whole way back along here, and then the whole way basically back to the property line between the two properties, I cleared out. That was a ton of work. So then, once I got that cleared out, I was like, I have all these rocks. So these were the rocks that were out in the fields. So all of this used to be just a farm field, where the house is and the other 2 acres. This was all farm field. And over the years, I'm assuming the farmers would pull the rocks out, and then they would take them down along here, which at the time was the wood line, and they would just dump the rocks. So it was rocks the whole way through here, the whole way up along here. So when I cleared this out, I decided, I always liked having a fire pit. So what I decided to do was build this little deck. Fits about 4 of the Adirondack chairs on here. And so I just built a little bit of a wall here to protect the fire pit from the wind, and it's so nice. It works out perfect. And in the summer, there's still enough foliage on the trees that it stays shaded here all day long. So it's a good 15 to 20 degrees cooler sitting here in the evening as the sun's going down. So it makes for a perfect spot to just sit, relax, and enjoy the fire. And so you can see I want to do something here next to the deck. I'm not sure what I want to do yet. But as I was clearing this out, I just took the bigger rocks and just kind of brought them around in a circle here to kind of tie in around with the rest of the yard. And so again, probably a couple months ago, I planted these Nellie Stevens holly trees, holly bushes, holly trees. They can grow in the trees, but you can keep them pruned back to any height that you want. They're fast growing. They grow about 6 feet a year. And I planted them all along the back of the yard here. They're still about 15 feet off of the property line, which is in the woods. But I wanted to plant those to kind of give me some privacy from my neighbor back here. So when I'm sitting here enjoying the campfire or in the backyard here, these will be tall enough and fill in enough that it'll screen my neighbor there. He's a really nice guy, but I just like my privacy. And he even came over when I was planting these, and he was like, "Well, what are you doing, trying to block me off?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do." And he's like, I don't mind at all. He's like, I would actually do the same thing. He likes his privacy too. He's a Afghanistan veteran, and he does have PTSD, so he likes his peace and quiet. He has a nice 6.5 acres down there with a pond, and so he likes his peace and quiet and privacy too. And he said that, he was okay with that. He actually appreciated, that, if I did have some friends over or, my kids over, that it kind of just gives us a little barrier between the two of us. So this is the area that I had to clear out. And as you can see, this is actually the septic tank right here, and then the septic lines go down through here. So I had to clear all this out. The shed I built last spring. So there wasn't a shed here at one point. And so I have an ATV, I have my tractor, I have a bunch of my tools and stuff in there. So I built this. It was flat here. I was able to get that built to store all my equipment, my tools in there. And let's see. So where this door is, this was actually a window. So there's actually a small bedroom here and a small bedroom here. And this door was the only entrance into the house. And the deck stopped. The deck stopped right here. And then you had some stepping stones that went out to the driveway. There was a huge concrete slab there, and I had to bust all that out. I don't have pictures and stuff of all that work. So last spring I decided to extend the deck, and hopefully this wind's not too bad, and then move this window and add this door, and then turn that little small bedroom into essentially a mudroom. So that made more sense to me with the driveway being here. It worked out really, really well. So that's about it for the improvements on the outside. And like I said, I'll share some pictures of what the outside looked like before, so you can kind of see the improvements that have been made. So now we will go into the inside because the wind is starting to get really, really windy, and the temperature is dropping and my fingers are freezing. So I will see you in a couple minutes. Okay, so now we're inside, and so this is the door off of the deck that was at one time a window. I put a door in here and made this into an entranceway, which we call here in West Virginia, we call it a mudroom. The water heater and the pressure tank were actually on the other side of this wall, and I turned that into a laundry room. This house did not have a washer and dryer. They didn't have a laundry room, so that was something that I had to have. So I took these from the room on the opposite side of the wall and put them in here. It just made more sense to do that, to put that in this little room here. This was actually a small little bedroom, which it's really small, but they did use it as a bedroom. I guess it was for like the granddaughter or something. So this is actually the refrigerator came with the house. I have a new refrigerator, but there's nothing wrong with it, so I use that for all the stuff that I pull out of the garden, freezer and refrigerator. It's just some extra space for things that I need. Let's see. So this room, then, so the water heater and the pressure tank actually sat right in here, and here it is on the opposite side. So it's basically I just had to just kind of mirror it from there to this side. It didn't take me too long to do that. Just the line coming in from the well itself, I had to move that down under the crawl space, but it wasn't too bad to do. And then I was able to add the washer and the dryer in here. So it worked out perfect. Perfect room for the laundry room here. And this is then the original front door, which now I rarely use this door. But this was the only door into the house. This is where I do my editing for the videos. This is a little small office area. This was my mom's painting. It's a Thomas Kincaid was her favorite artist, and she wanted me to have this after she passed, which she passed in, when did she pass? Was in June of 2024. And my dad passed in October of 2023. And this is another one of the pictures that she wanted me to have. So I just used this as just my office in here. This was also just a small little bedroom, but they had used it for an office as well. There was actually a door here, and I decided just to take the door off and just have an open to the office in here. Okay, so this area it's been a huge change from what was here before. So originally, this wall was not here. This door was not here. There was a wall that went from this corner over to this wall, and this was their original living room. Where the dining room table is, this was the original living room. This wall was not here. There was a small wall here around these two return vents for the air handler, which is inside it's inside this little closet here is the air handler for the air conditioning and heat pump. So what I decided to do, there was a bathroom here. So the bathroom, there was a door right here, and then this was the bathroom. So what I decided to do was extend this wall straight across into the kitchen. And like I said, there was a wall here. There was a wall here, and I wanted to open all this up, so I removed that wall, built this, And since my kitchen is so small and narrow, and I can show you pictures of this too. The kitchen's totally redesigned. I just used the cabinets they had and painted them. I did add new countertops and appliances, and then I built this little island here. But the refrigerator sat up against the wall that was here. It sat here in this corner, and then the kitchen kind of went to the other side of the stove, and then it kind of turned to the right, made a little peninsula, and they had a little seating area on the back, but it made it so tight. So what I decided to do is I'm going to take this wall out. I'll extend a wall across to here, and then make a recess here for my refrigerator, just to push that back so that's not taking up any space into the kitchen. And then I added the tall wall cabinets here because I didn't have a whole lot of cabinet space. You can see there's not a whole lot of cabinet space. So I had these custom built. I had to have them reduced down in depth just to give me enough room in between the room out here and between the refrigerator and the island that I built. The island I just used 2 wall cabinets and built them up on a platform, ran baseboard around them, and then just added these posts on the back so you can actually sit and eat here as well. So it just gives me more space for people to eat. So when I had all my brothers and my in-laws in for Thanksgiving, we had plenty of a place to eat. I had 2 more chairs here, so that gave us plenty of space to sit down and eat. So like I said, the kitchen cabinets came to about this point, and then they kind of made a right-hand turn over to about here, made a little peninsula and a little bar on the back side before you would get to the sunroom, which was a mess. So I reworked this entire sunroom, tore the floor out, put some carpet tiles down, and it turned out really nice. It's so peaceful and quiet out there. I sit out there almost every evening and just relax, read a little bit, think about what my next video is going to be about. And so it's really, really, really nice out there. Like I said, there was a wall went across through here. You'll be able to see all that in the pictures that I put on here. I always loved arched openings. So this was square, so I just turned that into an archway going into what is now my living room. So when I bought this wall was not here. This was all one big room. So through this door is my bedroom. This was all one big room. It was carpeted. It was nasty. It was a mess. It was a cathedral ceiling. And actually right up and about there, they had a ladder that went up to a loft up in there, and that's where the grandkids would sleep, and they had some storage up there. So there was no master bathroom. So I will show you that in a minute what I did there. But so what I did was I added this wall to divide this space up in half. And then it was able to give me my living room. It's not overly big, but it's just perfect for me. And then I vaulted the ceiling at a lower pitch than what the cathedral ceiling was. And then there's a reason for that. So this wall, above this wall, there is a beam that I placed up there. When they built the house, they didn't frame the cathedral ceiling correctly, and just the weight over time it began to push this outside wall out, so there's a sag in the roof. So I was able to get some of the sag out, but I couldn't get it all out. So I put a beam in there with some 4x4 posts to keep it from sagging anymore. And you'll see that in the pictures too, kind of how I frame this. And this is a pocket door. Just because of space constraints, I didn't want an actual swinging door, so I just put a pocket door in here, in between the living room and the bedroom, and it works out perfect. In here is just a spare bedroom. I really haven't done much work to this other than the painting and the flooring. There's a little closet. There's a small little closet here. Like I said, I haven't done much to this room other than painting and cleaning it up. So this has stayed the same. Let's see. Okay, so let's go into the bedroom here. So this is the bedroom. Windows. Like I said, this was all the living room. The whole way over through the bedroom was all one big room. It was their big, huge living room. So they had all these windows in here. So I have a lot of curtains. I like to sleep in the dark. I need dark, so I have these blackout curtains in here because it's a lot of windows. It's a lot of glass. But this is a super comfy bedroom, at least for me. So in here, I didn't do the vaulted ceiling. I did a tray ceiling. So the ceiling's a little bit higher in here. And the bedroom's not overly big, but it's plenty good size for me. And like I said, I got all the windows here, and then this faces out towards that other 2.5 acres beside of me. Let's see. So this door here leads into my walk-in closet that was once a bathroom, and the door was actually about 1.5 feet to the right, so I had to reframe that entranceway into that was once the bathroom is now my walk-in closet to make room for my shower that's in the bathroom. So I will show you. Let me show you here. So this is my closet. So this was the bathroom. So there was, where this window is, there was a tub shower. There was a toilet here, and then the vanity here, and then there was a closet here. So I had to reframe the doorway, gut all that, take all that out, and that loft that I was talking about. So I put in a drop down stairs to get up into that loft, and I just have a bunch of storage up there, and it worked out perfect. It's a pretty big space up there, plenty of storage. I have a lot of my extra clothes and things I just switch out from spring to fall and that kind of thing. Some of my tools and stuff are up there. So this is the walk-in closet. It was once a bathroom. And then coming into my bathroom, so this was an actual bedroom. This was another bedroom. So I took all this out and ran a bunch of plumbing, electrical, and then made this my master bathroom. So it never made sense to me why anybody would have a master bathroom without a tub and a separate shower. That's what I used to do for a living. I used to remodel kitchens and bathrooms after I stopped building houses, and it never made sense to me. Why would you have a master bathroom without a separate tub from the shower? So I added the soaking tub, And then I added the double vanity. And like I said, this was a bedroom at once. The bed actually sat right here. And then my separate shower. And of course the toilet. So when I first saw the house about buying it, I already had the vision in my head exactly what I wanted to do. And my realtor thought I was crazy. She's like, there's no way you're going to be able to do all that. And she couldn't envision what I wanted to do. So I brought her back after I had a lot of it done, and she was just amazed at the progress that I made and the way I laid things out. So she was pretty impressed with that. So that's about it as far as the inside. There is no basement here. It's a crawl space, and I've done a lot of work down there. It was a mess down there. There's an outside door that was left open. There were squirrels in there, cats, mice. It was a mess. So I had to clean all that out, add a new vapor barrier in that, seal everything up. So now it's a sealed up house. And as far as the kitchen goes, eventually what I would like to do is take the sink area. So I want to take the sink area and kind of make a 45-degree turn here and then bring it around to here. So it kind of flows around this direction and it keeps on flowing. And then my sink would kind of face this direction then into the living room, and then kind of facing this window then as well. It would just give me a little more space in here, and then I can probably modify my island down to maybe half the size, because I do a lot of my food prep and stuff there, and I would still like to keep that. And if I cut it down to half the size, it would still give me plenty of room in between the sink, which would be here, and my stove and the refrigerator. So that may be happening sometime here in the near future. So that's my tour of my house, my property. Like I said, I just wanted to show you all that, kind of give you an idea of where I live. And not sure kind of where I want to go with this channel, but I think I kind of want to just do just about the things that I do here on my property. Up at my off-grid cabin, I have some projects in mind I want to do up there. If you haven't seen that video, it should be in my playlist. That one's gotten a lot of attention. I want to add roof over the front deck on that and some other things up there. So that'll also be part of my channel. And then there'll be some other projects I want to do and life experiences that I want to share, and just my insights on things. My channel, I've looked around a lot on YouTube, and there's so much doom and gloom and negativity, and I don't want to be a part of that. I want to be someone that sees positivity in things, kindness. I know that kind of sounds a little naive or not in reality of the days that we're living in, but I think that's needed, and that's who I am. That's my personality. That's who I am as a person. So I'm not going to stray from that. So you're not going to get that from me. If you're looking for any kind of doom, gloom, bad news, political bias, you're not going to get that from me. I'm more about peace, kindness, self-improvement, trying to improve the lives of others, helping others. That's what you're going to get from me, and along with the things that I enjoy doing, my gardening, my yard work, my off-grid cabin, and just home improvements and things like that. My hiking, I love to hike. I love being out in nature. I'm kind of kicking around the idea of maybe getting a dog. I had 2 dogs that I lost in my divorce several years ago. I'm still not quite healed from that part, but I've kind of been kicking around the idea of a dog. It won't be this year, but maybe at some point. So that would be part of my channel as well. So I hope you enjoyed the tour that I took you on, and sharing a little bit more about myself. And like I said, for my 20 subscribers, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you enjoy this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.